Yeah, I mean, I was. Now it looks okay, but I was like,
And welcome to Madden and Benz Unfiltered. We had Mark. We lost Mark. Hopefully we'll get Mark back. But we are getting underway here by talking about the Penguins first and foremost. And we're brought to you by Mike's Beer Bar on the North Shore. Meet me at Mike across the street from the Clemente Bridge, at the base of the Clemente Bridge, across the street from PNC Park. Got over 500 available craft beers, 80 rotating taps. Also, get yourself a steak and a stone and be there for all the Pittsburgh Penguins hockey games, NHL games, and, of course, all the March Madness action coming up as well. Mike's Beer Bar on the North Shore. All right, we'll start things off with the Pens, and we can get comments going on them, the Pirates in spring training, the Steelers, but the Penguins are where I want to begin. 5 out of 6 points to start things off, including a shutout of the Vegas Golden Knights on Sunday afternoon. And if you had told me in advance that the Penguins were going to get 6 points laid out to them coming out of the Olympic break and claim 5 of them, I absolutely would have taken it. And the fact that they got it this way is not what I expected. It's not what anybody expected because, well, quite honestly, with the Rangers playing the way that they're playing, that felt like the easiest layup of 2 points, particularly on the road, since when you look at the Rangers, their home performance has been terrible. They're the worst home team in the National Hockey League. So I thought that was an easy 2. They needed to get 2 against the Devils, 60 points in 60 games for them. They managed to do that. They got 2 points against the Devils. They got 1 against the Rangers. That should have been a 2-point game. They let the 2 points get away with the overtime loss, the shootout loss. And again, the Penguins just can't get it done in the shootout. But aside from that, look at where they are right now. Tied right now for third place, second place in the Metro, 9 points clear of the Washington Capitals in fourth place. That's a pretty good spot to be. Mark joins us right now. I don't think you could ask for much more, Mark, coming out of this Olympic break, especially when you consider how they shut out a Pacific Division leading team in the Vegas Golden Knights yesterday.
No, it's disappointing, like you said, that they really do stink in the shootout, and for that matter, in games decided after 60 minutes. They're 4-13 in those situations. I think the Islanders, with whom they're tied, are 12-5 in games decided after 60 minutes. So, you know, they're tied in the standings, but imagine where the Penguins could be if they were even average when games went past the regulation 60 minutes. But that said, yeah, there's no complaint with this team. They're a lot better than I thought they would be. I don't think they're championship contenders yet by any means. There's still some work to be done in development and team building. But they could win a playoff series. And for a team that was expected to be a bottom 5 team this year and get a top 5 pick, they're doing very well.
And doing it without Crosby so far to start coming out of the break, which is the big storyline. The question that everybody had, would this all come crumbling down because Sid wasn't here? And so far, it hasn't, largely because Chinakhov continues to score. Kindle, for the concerns about him hitting a wall, seemed to have found a little something in that Buffalo game, and that's carried over. He had a good game yesterday. You know, I still think that the 2 Twin Tower guys, if you look at Mantha and Brazo, have plenty to offer. The biggest question is, what do they do at center now? Because it looks like Ricard Raquel, whatever he had at center, has been lost with so much time playing wing. He doesn't have any face-off touch at all. And like you talked about in the podcast, there are elements beyond that, too, that he's struggling with making that move.
Yeah, it looks to me like he's too busy thinking about the neutral zone and the defensive zone to get any offense going. Like, he's thinking too much out there, in short. So I'd move him back to wing. As a temporary fix, I'd put Lizotte centering the third line, which wouldn't be no good, but it's a fix. I'd put Achari at center on the fourth line, you know, move him in from wing, but he has played center. Hayes down to the fourth line and Kindle up to the first line. And in the interim, and there's not much interim, Tim, because the trade deadline's Friday, I would look to trade for a third line center.
Does Vincent Trocheck count as that, or is he a second line center?
He ain't going to come here. They're not going to be able to afford to give what a Minnesota or a Colorado will to get him. And at any rate, the Penguins aren't at that point in their progress to make a trade like that.
Well, I hear that. I mean, maybe not for this year, but then again, they are in second place. And I look at the Trocheck contract, Mark, and 5.86 or 5.26 between now and 2029. That's plenty affordable.
Yeah, he's 32.
Okay. I mean, like you don't see a value for that for the next couple of years while Sid is still here. If the goal is to help Sid get at least one more playoff run.
The goal is not to help Sid get anything. The goal is for the team to become a championship contender on an organic timetable.
All right, and you think that disrupts it? I mean, they've got so many assets to give away. That's my point. They've got so.
It would depend on the price, Tim. But again, Minnesota and Colorado is going to give more because they're right there right now. A team right there right now is going to give the most.
Detroit, too, is another one I'm hearing about. I don't know if that one's popped on your radar screen yet, too.
Well, they'd be making a mistake because they're not right here right now.
The other centers that are talked about being moved are a little less – they're kind of along the lines of what you're talking about. I see more of a fit for Trocheck because of his two-way ability. But, you're talking about guys like Robert Thomas, which would be a huge swing, but I don't think they're getting him. Kadri, O'Reilly, these are all the names that are being thrown around out there. And it might not be them,
we're talking way lower down the line than those guys. We're talking a temporary fix guy till Sid gets back.
That's where I was going with it is if those guys move, then maybe what team they wind up on, somebody gets displaced or they try to create cap space with that player, and that's the guy that gets moved to the Penguins.
Yeah, maybe. That's a good thought, too. But, boy, that all happens real quick on Friday. So Dubas is a guy who can handle that, but we'll see.
So Avery Hayes, I don't like the idea of him having to drop to the fourth line, but it certainly sounds like that might have to be the answer.
Yeah, that's what he is. I mean, in the long run, he's a bottom six. That's just what he is. That's not a knock on him. It's merely his job.
Is Archer Shilov's a number one goaltender, or is he a number two in a best-case scenario and Murashov takes over?
You mean if they would trade Skinner?
Yeah, because isn't he the piece that you see?
No, I think you just keep rotating. I think you bring up Murashov if Skinner gets dealt and you plop him right into that rotation. And I don't know, maybe, though, if he plays like his talent merits, he becomes the guy in the playoffs. That's what I would be leaning toward. But I see no reason to disrupt a rotation that's really worked. People really want to proclaim a goalie number one. I mean, you're how many games in? There's only 20 some odd left. You're in a playoff spot. That rotation's worked. Why would you disrupt?
Did you by any chance catch Carlson's interview on TNT after the game?
I did not.
He said something interesting. Bissonnette asked him about playing better defense this year. And
did Bissonnette call him by his nickname and use locker room talk?
I can't remember how he referred to him, but I do know that Carlson
hey, Carl.
Carlson gave him a great deal of grief for never being on the Penguins bandwagon. That seemed to go over pretty well. So
did he take a shot at him?
Yeah, he took a couple more than a couple. Was the whole interview actually.
Good deal. I become a bigger Carl fan every day.
But Carl, what he had to say was he was talking about being allowed and being in a position more often to use your stick to play defense as opposed to trying to physical up. And I don't know if that's been a message that's been sent down from Hughes, but whatever he was getting at seems to be going over a lot better with him. And you do see fewer defensive I mean, they're still there, but largely those defensive gaffes, Mark, are still from an idea of wanting to play offense than just flat out failure in his own zone.
I don't see Carl playing one bit different this year than last. He's just doing better at it. I think statements like that are born of just flat not liking Mike Sullivan and Dan Muse being much more likable to Carl because he's not Mike Sullivan.
The other thing he talked about, and this is a good point, the special teams, the penalty kill, the power play, people are trying to figure out why the Penguins are doing what they're doing. When you have the second best PK now, and third best power play, if you're deficient 5-on-5 because the roster still isn't great, well, that makes up for a ton right there.
Well, you know who the catalyst is on both units? It's our buddy Carl. Because nobody knew he could kill penalties. Turns out he's really good at it. Actually, a funny bite from when he was on my show. I go, Eric, you can kill penalties. Who knew? And he goes, I did. And also he's become the technician on the power play we had hoped he would be upon arrival. It took a while, but he's really gotten great at that with the Penguins as well.
All right, so they've got a couple games coming up against Buffalo and Boston. Boston up first on Tuesday, Buffalo on Thursday, and then the trade deadline itself. So aside from the quest to find a center to bridge the gap until Sid comes back, do you see anything on the horizon now that they got Gerard in that defense for defense swap last week?
I don't like Gerard, the games I've seen him. I know it's only
you don't like him shooting on his own goaltender?
I don't like he's playing deck hockey out there. He's doing like all these nifty moves in his own zone. He's stick handling too much. I just think he's trying too hard. Maybe that's initially wanting to make an impression on his new team, but I've not been impressed. He does too much. But I'd be looking for a depth defenseman, not to replace Gerard, because I think he'll bed in and do better. And they got him to play.
What grade would you give the Penguins? Would it be better than an F- than what the Steelers got?
I don't travel with them, so I can't grade the seats on the airplane. I don't know. I think they're doing pretty good, Tim.
Yeah, I would certainly give Dan Muse an A. I think he's going to win the Jack Adams, or at least he should, for Coach of the Year. They
don't often give it to first-year coaches.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. That seems to be part of what the award is almost made for.
No, they should give it to him. He's done the best job. But Tim, he's 0 for 6 on coaches' challenges, and that's just because he's the new guy, period.
The coaches' challenges and the shootouts have been two storylines that you just can't escape. And, I always do what you
but the coaches' challenges ain't his fault. I mean, not that this was a challenge by him, but look at, like, the goalie interference that pulled back a goal for the Penguins that would have made it 2-0 and probably won that game at the Garden on Saturday. That wasn't goaltender interference. They just clipped skates. That happens in front of the net all the time by accident. And the big complaint there is nobody knows what the rule is. Everything about it is random. So when I hear Muse goes 0-6, I think he's just on the wrong side of random.
And the penalty
because he's a rookie head coach.
If you lose your timeout, you lose your timeout. And if from the standpoint of the logic of challenging a play, as he sort of outlined following the game against New Jersey when he lost one that didn't look like it had much of a chance, he said, and I'm paraphrasing, but like if it's 40-60, you might as well do it because to your point, no one knows what it is anyway. So your interpretation of 40-60, whoever's looking at it that night in Toronto might look at it as 60-40. So roll the dice. It's a goal.
No, I agree with that. A lot of challenges have to do with the scoring situation in the game. Like, I forget what game it was, but there was a situation where Muse made a challenge. He was unlikely to win, but if he doesn't pull the goal back, the Penguins are in really deep trouble. His best bet to get back in the game was the challenge. And if it failed and put him, on a penalty kill, so what? It was over anyway. So a lot of factors go into that. By the way, Tim, I am not a big believer in timeouts. I don't even think they should be allowed in hockey. I don't think it's a timeout sport. And no coach can imbue tactically in a timeout something he can't do on the fly and something he hasn't done before the game. A timeout is only useful to calm a team down and just, let momentum let momentum seep away from the other team because you stop playing.
All right, so I was joking about the grades thing, Mark. We talked about that during the podcast quite a bit. That's getting some reaction online. Our post from this morning. You put it largely on the players.
Not largely, but I think there's an element of that. I think when they're bitching about travel, I just wonder how bad the travel could possibly be. They're on a charter flight. Every seat is the size of a first-class seat. I just don't see how bad it could be. Are the planes delayed? Are there mechanical difficulties? Is that on the franchise? And that's the one grade, that F for travel, that made me think that they're just bitching and moaning for the sake of bitching and moaning. And let's face it, Tim, they have a lot of bitchers and moaners.
Well, they're also feeding the narrative of it was only Tomlin keeping this thing together by giving him an A when he was the one that was overseeing the defense, and they gave the defensive coordinator a C. And they also, throw all that praise at him when he's the guy in charge of a team that had never gotten to the playoffs with a victory since 2016, the lifespan of just about everybody on that team.
Well, it could be because it's a bunch of black guys on the team and Tomlin's the preeminent African-American coach, could it?
Well, it could, but I mean, if it's an A that he got across the
No,
board, it wasn't just
it
the
is.
black guys.
It is.
But I'm saying it was more than that. Like, I bet you Watt voted that way. I bet you Freiermuth voted that way.
Well, again, bitchers and moaners. Watt especially.
So, I mean,
is Muth a complainer? I've never noticed that.
No, I mean, I think he had plenty of right to be a complainer this year with how he used.
That's my point. The point is, I just don't take those grades that seriously. And unlike others in my profession, Tim, I have not made it a week-long, constant point of discussion. But anything with a report card, with a grade, with a Mount Rushmore, with a rating, with a list, that's what counts in our industry right now.
Yeah, so that's part of the reason why the combine does as well as it does, because
the combine's absolutely meaningless. There is nothing at all they know about these guys that they find out at the combine. It's a two-part game in the NFL's eyes. They get people talking about football. They get the media gathered in one place. They make it a big event. It's part of NFL 24/7, 365. The other is they get the players to understand early who's boss. Get here when you don't really have to. Get out there in your underwear, run around. When we say jump, you say how high, and it better be high enough.
I will say there's two things that came out from that were interesting to me, and one of them came from our parish here at Trib Live. Chris Adamski, who was out there covering the combine for us, made the comment that he was getting a sense that there's a lot more attention being paid to the safety position than what he expected going in, which is interesting to me given the fact that they have lots of other holes and Deshaun Elliott is coming back. And I would think they still have Jalen Ramsey to use in that capacity if they need him. So, and to be fair, Chris wasn't saying they're going to go get a first-round safety. There aren't that many to be had, but he did get the sense that he thought that part of the secondary was higher on the priority list than he expected going in.
I think they have so many holes they can't possibly fill them all. I think this is a flawed team beyond saving in one season, which is why they need a rebuilding process, which is why they need to not look just at the next game, but we both know they're just never going to veer from that philosophy.
If they go and get Rodgers and bring him back, that diffuses a lot of the quarterback talk for the draft, and I think it allows them over these next, whatever it is, month and a half, how much time is left before the draft, it allows them to familiarize the fan base with lots of other people that aren't quarterbacks, and they can go into draft night without feeling like they have to make the pop because the pop will take care of itself.
I think the pop takes care of itself no matter what they do. I think this is a stupid town full of stupid people that'll go down there like drunk lemmings and dance like clowns in front of the camera. I don't think they have anything to worry about at all at that draft. I thought maybe they'd ruin it after the Steelers went another year without winning a playoff game, but Pittsburgh will perform as required.
Lastly, Mark, as it relates to Connor Griffin, another homer yesterday. He's got 3, but those are his only 3 hits. Does any of that matter, or does what really matter is
that right? His only hits are 3 home runs.
I believe he's 3 of 14 with 3 homers. Yeah.
He's Dave Kingman.
What'd you think of Kingman's performance? What did I think of Kingman's performance?
My favorite player as a kid, Tim. Don't you dare desecrate.
Oh, I'm not disparaging him. You know that story, right?
Lasorda. Yeah,
the Tommy Lasorda rant. Yes.
Yeah.
An all-time classic. Where I was going with the thought was there's a labor stoppage coming. We all know that. How long it is, who knows, but it could last a whole year. Does it just behoove the Pirates to bring the kid up because you sell merch? He helps put fannies in the seats on nights that Skeens doesn't pitch, which is 4 times out of 5. That's money that goes in the coffers in advance. And oh, by the way, whatever rules get changed and rewritten, whether it's a salary cap or not coming out of this, who cares about the year that's burned if you bring them up right away?
Well, their best bet is to keep – they'll never keep Skeens, and I think they have like a 1% chance to keep Griffin. But the best chance for it to happen in theory is if there's a floor, because the floor would go up to like 130, 140, and they're only spending what now, like 95, 100? So they'd have to spend that money on somebody. I think the one chance that Nutting ever sells the team is if there's a floor. Because I think he would be really discouraged by the money taken out of his pocket there.
No, I've often said that a labor stoppage and a change in structure could result in a sale because he just doesn't want to go there and be there. I mean, I also caution people when it comes to this conversation, like you don't want the Pirates to be, and help me out, Mark, who are the teams that had to deal with this when a cap and a floor got put in place in hockey? Was like the Coyotes, the Sharks, I seem to remember. Like there were teams that were so far beneath the threshold that they had to gobble up bad contracts like concussion case guys, injury guys, big contract vets just to get to the floor. And then they knew they were going to stink for the next couple of years anyway. You don't want to be that team coming out of this. So have some good money on the books is what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, but Griffin's never going to sign long term. People act like it's imminent. I mean, Jason Mackey said he thought it was 60% that they would sign Griffin long term, like pretty soon. They're not talking about that. So what? Like Griffin will magically show up one day with a contract he wrote and signed it himself, like the overage guy in that movie, The Benchwarmers. I am 12. That's his identification. So I think so much debate about the Pirates and Griffin is pie in the sky. And like you say, Tim, barring any significant changes in the CBA, and those are going to happen maybe, they're going to have Skeens until he can get out and Griffin until he can get out because those players don't want to stay here, a place they can't win when they can get more money and have a better chance elsewhere. The goal in MLB these days isn't to be good enough to make your team win. It's to be good enough so a team that can win wants you.
So you said the bench warmers. I was thinking like Nick Papagiorgio and his fake ID in Vegas Vacation.
Yeah, same thing.
He put his head in there. Eric.
Except Griffin isn't going to do that. The Pirates might try.
And by the way, he's not old enough to drink
this.
yet.
You were drunk the other day. You're 19. You're underage. That's trouble too.
Eric says, is the NHL going to go frozen envelope McKenna to the Rangers? They might not have to do that. It's either that or Vancouver.
That guy stole that from me. I said that to Buchagras on Twitter. He was talking about McKenna to the Rangers. I tweeted back frozen envelope. I'd for sure do it. The NHL needs a star like that in that market. And not Newark. Newark's not the same thing. If it was, well, they're going to mangle Jack Hughes anyway. McKenna would have a chance with the league getting pushed because he's Canadian.
McKenna to Sullivan. How do you think Sully would handle McKenna? A guy who tends to like to play on the perimeter, a guy who distributes the puck great, but maybe doesn't shoot it enough.
How would Sully do having McKenna as his boss?
Yeah, well, that's a good point. Yeah,
that's a better question.
Yeah. This one comes from Mark. The road trip next week will likely be the deciding factor on whether the Penguins make the playoffs or not. Or, they play really well these next two games. Dubas is feeling it, and maybe contrary to what Mark and I were pontificating earlier, he rolls the dice and goes big at the deadline, although I don't think he's going to do that.
I think that road trip's big, but I think they're beyond small samples deciding where they're at. I think they're going to be at the worst case scenario, they're going to be in the hunt for a playoff spot and at the forefront of it till season's end. It's a pretty good team. They lambasted Vegas yesterday without Crosby. They withstood like a 10-minute storm and then beat the crap out of them.
They're 9 points clear of the last slot in the Metro, which is important because those two wild card slots.
Yeah, the wild card ain't for them.
Right. The wild card's going to go to the other division. So that's big. And, I can't get around, as we've talked about on a few occasions, despite the lack of manpower that you look at the roster this deep into the season, this might be what you're saying about the small sample sizes, Mark. Maybe it's time to just stop asking why, but the why is it's working. And somehow
they're a good team now. It's not a matter of are they what they appear to be? We're 2/3 of the way through the season. They are what they appear to be. That doesn't mean they won't get worse, but it's not fool's gold anymore, for sure. And they're on the right process rebuilding for the long term, too, which is actually more important. You look at what Kyle Dubas has done compared to Omar Khan and Sherrington. He has a plan, and he's executing it. The Steelers never think past the next game, and the Pirates just can't put a plan in place because they're cheap. And whatever plan it is never pans out because they're cheap.
Well, I was going to say, The 1-8 thing in shootouts that we talked about before, you mentioned at the outset of this stream something that I always do is you don't look at that and say, "Oh my God, what if they're 8-1 instead of 1-8?" Well, no, then that's flukishly good as opposed to flukishly bad, which is what they are. You
No,
split
you
the
look
middle.
at what if they were 4-5.
Yeah, you split the middle because that's a coin flip anytime you do it. I guess it isn't for the Penguins because they're so bad at it, but for most teams, it's a coin flip. So just split the difference. And if you split the difference, they're more contending with Carolina than they are with the Islanders for second or third and home ice potentially in that first round.
Yeah, but I got to be honest. I'd rather finish. The best spot for them to finish is second, because you would get home ice against the team from your own division. You win the division, you're going to play a tough wild card from the Atlantic.
Yeah, that's
second
true.
Second is
yeah.
better than first in this case.
Except it's the Islanders, and we all know about their playoff history.
Well, they ain't got it yet either.
Let's go to Alec, who says, love the SNL USA Hockey skit, emphasized the majority of full outrages from social media bots. They got their jabs in. They got their shots back, but, it got the point.
No, the open was great. I really liked it. And, again, they got a great reaction. Every NHL arena has given these guys a great reaction. The women, I'm sure, wherever they go, get a great reaction. The people know, and the people count. Olbermann, LeBatard, Damian Cox, the bots on Twitter, the radical people on right and left, they don't count. The reaction from the people matters.
Well, they are bots, basically, those guys. They are bots for that agenda.
Yeah, well, I mean, let's face it, Tim. Nobody got covered in glory in this except the players. Given the men's perceived faux pas when President Dipstick said what he said, I mean, something dumb that he shouldn't have, and everybody on the other side overreacted because we've all chosen the side because we're all late.
Let's go to Yinzer Gear, who says, what do you guys think about the Geno
that was a long pause. Did I do the wrong thing there?
No. It froze for a second. The stream was breaking up there. What do you guys think about the Geno situation? He seems like he really wants to be back. Why is Dubas holding off?
Because he's not sure he wants them back and shouldn't be sure he wants them back. Geno's having a good season, no question. He's also 39. Is it a last gasp or is it a new beginning? And you can't let your locker room become a media. You've got, look at Tampa Bay in 24. Stamkos scored 40 goals. He was 33. They let him walk. They brought in Gensel. They're better. That could happen here. It's not a decision you make just because Geno wants it, and you don't make it now. You let it play out till the end of the season, and if Geno gets the boo-boo face because of that, then the question answers itself.
Well, especially because, Mark, we are talking about a potential playoff run, so who knows what injury could hold in the playoffs, A, and B, this mutual rejuvenation between him and Chinakhov. How long does that last necessarily? The playoffs are a perfect stretch.
How do we know that Chinakhov's not making Geno?
Right. And, maybe Chinakhov is just hot right now as opposed to being the real deal. Although,
yeah, my point is, what harm does it do to wait till season's end?
Nothing. At this point, there's no harm. And if you really want to get it done by then, you get it done before free agency starts. It's that simple.
Except from the usual suspects. Geno, how can you disrespect Geno? Geno.
John says, does Connor Griffin start against the Mets at shortstop on opening day, or would you give him a month or two in Indianapolis? Like I just said, at this point, I'm now firmly in the camp of just bring him up because of the business aspect of it. And that speaks to the mindset of the owner, too.
Also, tell me what's gained by starting Griffin in AAA besides your cliched concept of developmental.
What is gained?
Yeah.
I guess you could say the back end of the deal. But again, what's that going to mean that last year of his contract? What's that going to mean?
I'm tired of waiting for the back end of the deal, Tim.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm on
At
board.
some point, try to win. The overlap in Pittsburgh with Skeens and Griffin is going to be minimal. Try to make the most of it.
Mark, what are you doing in Vegas? That's what's coming up for you, right?
Penguins game, Foreigner, Sammy Hagar. Probably go see the Wizard of Oz at the Sphere. They're doing that every day. And my usual spots like Carver Steak, Carbone, etc.
I thought Randy made a really good point on the DV morning show about Metallica being at the Sphere, how it's almost the way the Sphere operates is the sound is so clean, it might be counter to what you think a Metallica show experience is like. They got to figure out that fine line.
Why do you think the clean sound would make them somehow come off worse? I don't get that.
Like, they are so precise in how the sound is engineered at the Sphere. Some of being at a Metallica show is just the raw power of the sound blowing, your hair back.
Having heard the Eagles and how bell clear the sound is, I transpose Metallica into that. You will still have your hair blown back.
Oh, okay. All right. Even for the Eagles, huh?
That won't. Oh, the Eagles were great. Yeah, it won't be a problem.
Yeah, I do want to see Metallica there.
Like if you're wondering if clarity would somehow trump power in that situation, well, Metallica can make themselves sound any way they want. They control the system. It's not like Don Henley's going to be on the board.
That's right. Lars is going to be on the board and play drums all at the same time.
Yeah, I mean they can do whatever they want. It's I don't see even a remote problem. It's tough for them to get groups to play the Sphere because you got to sell out X amount of shows to make it worthwhile with all the expense involved. With the video wall and whatnot. So it's tough. And I think Metallica can have a good run there. I heard, I don't know if this is factual, but one of my little birdies in Vegas said that Guns N' Roses was going to do it. And Axl went and saw a show at the Sphere, didn't like it. Now they're touring, all over the place this summer. I would have assumed the band would have liked to have, most people would like to just play in one place, but I was told Axl didn't want to do it. But if you look at what happened the last 2 or 3 years, Tim, GNR pointedly stayed out of America, which would seem to set up that residency to get people to come from, all over the country, but they decided not to do it apparently.
Yeah, and they did PNC Park the last time through here. I don't know what they would do this time if they go inside and do the arena or what.
If I was the age of these heritage bands, Tim, I wouldn't want to play anywhere but the Sphere if I could. Or residencies in Vegas like at Park MGM or whatever. I think that's just so much at an elderly age, so much less wear and tear.
All right, so Mark is going to be, we'll figure out next week. We'll at least do the podcast, and then we'll figure out Madden and Benz Unfiltered for next week. If not, then we'll be on in some way, shape, or form. Some way or another, we'll get Madden and Benz Unfiltered.
No, I think I'll be able to do it. I mean, my flight's like to come home is like at 10 o'clock their time, so it's 1 o'clock our time. So if I do it, yeah, I should be able to do it. But I mean, like I'll double check.
All right, so we'll have something up on the line.
I'd hate to have the franchise collapse, Tim, because I missed one day. So,
well, I could bring shirtless Tom on. He can do the whole thing shirtless instead.
See, we've moved past that, Tim. He's Tommy Hockey, Tommy Radio, Tommy Football, Tommy whatever comes to mind.
All right, check out the podcast. It's up online too. Madden Benz Unfiltered and the Madden Monday podcast, all up at Trib Live. Have a good day, everybody.